Is that intro cinematic not one of the coolest things you've ever seen? It really is something, isn't it? Hello folks, I am Conostep and welcome to Rome Total War. So I will be playing this campaign side by side with my Julii campaign, and for those of you who are new to the channel, I should just let you know that I've been playing these Total War games in succession, celebrating each game's 20th anniversary, and here we are now finally on Rome Total War. So happy birthday, Rome Total War, and I am excited to jump on into this. Now I felt like I should play that intro cinematic in both of my side-by-side campaigns, just because I think I sort of had the sound, my audio, a little bit messed up in my Julii Part 1. And I just wanted to make sure that it sounded good in at least one of these campaigns. So hopefully the sound is a bit better balanced and the crudiness has been solved. All I did was add a second monitor, and apparently that just changes how sound works. So yeah, of course it does. I should know this by now. Change anything and it'll just change everything. Anyway, let's move on. We will be starting the Imperial campaign. And yes, we will be playing on very hard difficulty. I do like playing with the battle time limit on, just in case there's any shenanigans with the AI not wanting to attack. See, even now, the music still sounds a bit loud, doesn't it? I might have to toy around with that a little bit. Anyway, Egypt. It's going to tell us what our unit roster is going to be, so good spearmen and foot archers, along with swift cavalry and chariots. And yes, that's who we will be playing as. A short campaign, I liked clicking on this just to see like what, you know, the goal would be. I will be playing long campaigns, but if we were to play a short campaign, the goal would be to destroy or outlast the Seleucids and Armenia. And I can also read this off to you as well. So after the death of Alexander the Great, the empire he had created tottered and fell into disarray. With remarkable speed, his empire was the largest ever seen, and the generals struggled against each other for the ultimate prize that none of them was quite strong enough to gain. The Diadochi, or successors, were only strong enough to hold together fragments of Alexander's empire. Egypt was part of that empire, and by anyone's standards, it is an ancient land. It is now ruled by Greek pharaohs, the descendants of Ptolemy I, one of Alexander's able generals. The Ptolemaic dynasty adjusted rapidly to Egyptian ways and adopted the royal ways of the pharaohs, including divine status and marriage between the pharaoh and his sister in each generation. All the succeeding pharaohs have been called Ptolemy, and their sisters more of 10 than not, Cleopatra in the Egyptian fashion. Egypt, therefore, is a rich land under the new pharaohs and a center of learning for the Greek world. The Ptolemaic pharaohs hold together a formidable kingdom and must be seen as a major power in the Eastern Mediterranean. Their potential in warfare against the other successor states is also impressive, and an aggressive pharaoh could well expand Egypt's boundaries far beyond the Nile Valley. And let me click off that. Manage all sentiments, follow AI characters. Yeah, let's go.
I have been in the service of Pharaoh for many years. It is my task to write down all that is decided. My father did this before me, and his father before him. We have faithfully recorded and seen much. Pharaoh is our lord and master. He is Horus reborn, and will be Osiris in the afterlife. All of Egypt lives and dies by his divine wish. And this is as it should be. We are his children. Pharaoh loves us all. We would conquer the world so that all can know his wise rule. Even if Pharaoh did not ask this, we would do it. His enemies will be struck down. Night and darkness will take them. The sands will be stained red. All this will come to pass, for Pharaoh has decreed it. So it is written. So shall it be.
These intro cinematics are so good. I really like that line where he says that even if the Pharaoh would not ask it, we would still conquer the world for him. It really gives me some Paul Atreides vibes, some Paul Muad'Dib vibes from Dune, you know? Like, it gets to the point where you can't even control your own devoted followers because they have this view of you that, you know, whether you believe it or not, they believe it and they will act upon it no matter what. So I think that's just a really neat thing. So here we are in Egypt, and before I just get started, I don't want to spend too much time talking about myself, but I should say a little bit about what this channel is about. Again, I said most of this in my Julii Part 1, but for those of you who are not watching that campaign, the gist of this channel has been to document and share my exploration and my journey through learning about the Total War franchise. I essentially have not played these games until I cover them on YouTube. Now, I do get practice in the games, yes, don't get me wrong, I do practice a bit before I start actually uploading, but what I'm trying to say is I haven't played this game at all throughout the decades that it's been released. Okay, I didn't grow up with this game, I didn't grow up with this franchise. I started this channel 4 years ago at the age of 33, so I'm pretty late to the whole Total War thing, but I wanted to, like, you know, really dive into this franchise and learn about it. Just looks fantastic. So I started this channel to sort of document that. And in addition to covering each game on its 20th anniversary, I'm not just doing like one campaign and then calling it a day. I really like diving into the mechanics of the game and trying to learn as much as I can about the game and essentially spending that entire quote-unquote game's life playing that game until the next 20th anniversary if the next game is. You know, so typically it's about 2 years per game, at least in the earliest stages of this franchise. So I have spent the last 4 years playing Shogun 1 and then Medieval 1. So I have a lot of videos on those games. If that interests you, they're there. And so now I will be diving on into Rome. And this is very exciting for me because this is, I mean, it's funny because for those of you who are familiar with this franchise, you know, we all know what this game meant, right? This is a real departure from what Medieval 1 and Shogun 1 were. Really, you know, this is just really very, very different in a lot of ways. And a part of the idea that I have in mind for this channel is to explore that evolution in the franchise. I like to explore the things that we have gained with each game, but also the things that we've lost with each game, because the realities of, you know, budget constraints and time constraints is that you just can't do everything, right? And that breaks all of our hearts. I'm sure it breaks no one's hearts more than the devs themselves. But it's fascinating, I think, to see what the final product is. And this is a fantastic example of this because we've seen it. I mean, I've spent the last 2 years playing Medieval 1, and they removed a lot to make this game. Of course, what we gained in return is you can't really measure it, right? It's so immense what we gained in return for what we lost that yeah, that it is really hard to measure. But it's an interesting discussion, I think. So it's something I just want to give you that heads up now before you spend any more time with me or my channel or this campaign. I take my time with these campaigns. I go on rants about mechanics. I ask a lot of questions. I try to make sure that they're educated questions. Like I said, I get my practice in. Like I've done my research. I have an idea of how I want to run these campaigns, but there's a reason why I'm starting with Julii and the Egypt factions. I'm still, yeah, relatively new to this game, so I figured I'd start with the easy factions and work my way up from there. So expect a lot of explanation of the game and the mechanics, a lot of questions. I also like commenting on these campaigns as if there are people in the audience that have never played this game before, which also is a real thing, right? A lot of people either are new to the franchise like I am, or some folks just really didn't, like, they played this game a lot, but maybe they didn't learn a lot about the inner workings and mechanics and all that stuff. So I like to talk about it on that level, and again, if that's just too slow for you, I understand. Unfortunately, for people that want to watch Shogun and Medieval content, there's not a lot of other options out there on YouTube. There are some, you can find some. But for Rome, there's a ton of options. There's a lot of people that play this game faster than me. So I don't feel too sorry for you. You can find those channels and you can obviously enjoy those channels. But here, yeah, I'm gonna be like just diving in. You know, like we're gonna be. If we get through one turn in this episode, that's gonna be a good turn. Now, not every episode's gonna be that slow. There's a lot to say in the first episode. That's all. Unlike the Julii campaign, we start off with 6 provinces, or 6 settlements, instead of the 2 that each of the Roman factions start off with. And so we have the... What am I trying to say? The Numidians? Oh my goodness. See, I took actually a little break from this game, just because I was getting kind of burnt out on grinding all the hours. And yeah, Numidia, yep. So they're going to be like down... They have a settlement that's right here, I believe, right next to these trees in this little green spot. But there's a lot of wide open land over here, and their forces are very spread out. The settlements are very spread out, so it's not really a threat in the beginning. Now, they do surprisingly get a little bit ornery, and they start to think they can take on the mighty Egypt. Well, that's wrong. They cannot. In my experience, they really cannot take on the mighty Egypt, but they might try. They might try. And then up here, we're going to have the Seleucids, the other successor state from Alexander the Great's mighty kingdom. Also, fun fact, I know nothing about the history of this time period. I need to learn about the... I need to learn... I was just about to say I need to learn about the successor states and the Diadochi Wars, but like, I need to learn about Alexander the Great first, I guess. So like, I have a lot of catching up to do. I've just been like so stuck in learning about medieval time period setting stuff. That's something really fun for me, getting into the Total War franchise. It's reinvigorated my interest in history and kind of let me dive back into it. But I'm behind. I'm behind on my studies. So, yeah, there's a lot for me to learn about this time period. Here we are, 2,000 years before... Yeah, I was going to say, since I'm playing my Egypt faction as well in Medieval Total War side by side with this campaign, it's kind of fun going back 2,000 years before. I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek, I get it, but like, it's just funny. We get the Bronze Age Egypt here. Anyway, so the Seleucids are going to have Damascus, which is going to be here, and then Antioch, which is going to be right here. And we are going to make those settlements ours as quickly as gosh darn possible. And that's going to involve emptying Thebes and Memphis and Alexandria of every soul available and just bring them all up here. And we will take those 2 provinces. In my practice rounds, it was pretty easy to do. However, then after that, I think that it's going to be important to show some restraint, just because sometimes the other factions around will dogpile the Seleucids, or sometimes they will dogpile me and remain allied with the Seleucids. So what I would rather happen is essentially just have one enemy at a time. By taking Antioch off of the Seleucids, I'm going to basically be separating their realm in half. They will end up with 2 provinces over in this region, and then like something over... So they will have a province here, and then maybe another province down here. So they're going to be in some trouble once they lose Damascus and Antioch. But then there's going to be Pontus up here, and then Armenia up here, and then Parthia is going to be spread all the way out on the eastern side. And what I've learned about this game so far is that if you want to limit the amount of enemies that you have, then limit the amount of shared borders that you have. And so what that might mean is, if there's a rebel province between you and another faction, maybe don't take that rebel province right away. You know, like, maybe just let that sit for a minute, and even if like if like the Parthians end up taking one of these desert provinces that do border me, okay, then I can think about going to war with them. But by then, the Seleucids will be split in half by my forces. And I think that's going to be the idea. Try to keep the Seleucids in between me and Pontus and Armenia. And then instead of worrying about eliminating the Seleucids just because they're so spread out, it would require a lot of spreading out on my end as well. I think I would rather, you know, once I've taken these 2 provinces, build up a bit and then start to like think about kind of spreading out over the desert. There's a lot of territory, a lot of ground to cover. There's only like a handful of settlements. Like it's like 1, 2, it's like one here, and then one down here, I think, maybe. Yeah, we will learn more about that once we get map information. I don't have this map memorized yet. Yeah, so there's a lot of work to do on my end, but anyway, actually, we can get our spy up here, I think. I think getting him to look at Damascus is not the worst idea. He can come up here and just kind of take a peek. And so we're looking at one of the Seleucids generals, 3 stars, and he's going to have a unit of militia hoplites and peasants, and then the peltasts as well. So the whole gang is there. A little bit of range, a little bit of melee, and then some. The Seleucid general units are not great. Yeah, these might be the worst generals units in the entire game. Are they? I think they are. 12 attack, 11 defense, 6 charge, and yeah, they don't tell us the morale on this. That's so crappy. I hate that. It's like, oh man. They had a chance. At least Rome does display more information than Medieval does, but still, like, what? Why? Like, morale is like the most important thing. Morale is like the most important stat, and I have to go into the game files to like find it up. Like, what crap? That's so stupid. Oh dear. Oh, whatever. Anyway, so Egypt is filthy freaking rich. It makes a lot of money. It makes a lot of money, and it's gonna make even more money. I think that what I want to build in Thebes right away is a mine. It's going to cost 2,000 to build it, but it only takes 2 turns, so it returns its investment so quickly. The turnaround on it is immense. If we look in here in the settlement details, it tells us we'll be making 300 off of the mining. And I think, so like it's 200 off of the building itself, and then it took me a while to learn where the extra 100 comes from. I think that means the extra 100 comes from trade, I think? I think that's what that means. I don't know why it wouldn't be under the trade category, but yeah, if you know the answer, let me know, because I wondered why it says 200 here and then 300 here. Anyway, even though, you know, that took off, so we started with 5,000 and now we're down to 3, I think that's a worthy investment. And I think it's worth doubling up on that up here in, is it Salamis? I think also can build mines. They have gold here. Jesus. Oh god, yes, give it to me. Yeah, so another 2,000, another 2 turns. Brings me down to 1,000. I think it's worth it. I think so. That means I pretty much can't get much else. I will... Let's see here. So I have boats right here, and what do we got here? A couple biremes, attack of 6, defense of 7. You know what's really shocked me in this game is how, so like there's the rebel pirate fleets that Medieval did not have. There was no rebel fleets in Medieval, but in this game there sure as heck are, and they are no joke. Like, they will mess you up. I thought that they were just going to be like, oh, it's just rebels. No. Run from them. You have to run from like the rebel fleets in the early game. Like, you have to wait until you get an actual proper like fighting fleet to take them on. Even so, like, they will have the 3 boat stacks, which are like scary just because their stats are just a little bit better. I think it's like 7 attack, and that's enough for them to win. And then they might have where does it say the admiral? So I guess if the admiral had experience, it would be a star on here, I'm assuming, on one of the unit cards. But yeah, they might have experience and they have better stats, and then they have like a 3 stack little fleet there. It can be kind of treacherous to deal with, I'll tell you what. Luckily, we have the lighthouse, the Pharos of Alexandria, which is the lighthouse. And how do we look at this? Yeah, this is, oh, these are cool, yeah. The Wonders of the World. So this is going to have the chance of nearby ships at sea sinking, and it increases naval movement allowances. So that's pretty cool. It's something that, it's super vague, right? Because it has the chance of nearby ships at sea sinking. What does nearby mean? Like, does that mean like anything in the Eastern Mediterranean? Or does that just mean like here? or here? You know, like what is it? I don't know. Does anyone know? It doesn't just, you know, like we can't just know that, can we? Anyway, but it does increase the range of the ships, and which that seems real. Like that's a very long distance, and we will be using those ships to get us up to The Levant, which I don't know if this was called, this wasn't called the Levant back then. I'm sure it wasn't. I don't know. But I think I want all of these units in the boats right away. I will leave the peasants behind. Oh yeah, I should probably explain why I chose this unit scale. I chose large unit scale as opposed to the huge unit scale. Again, I talked about this more in my Julii part 1, but the gist of it is this. Going all the way back to Shogun 1 and then Medieval 1, I feel like the AI knows how to handle its shit better when it's on default unit sizes, just because the economy doesn't seem to scale in these games with the different unit sizes. So when you're paying more, you're still making the same amount of money off of your, you know, your buildings and trade and all that stuff. In this game, I think it might be even more important, just because the bodies that are, you know, being pulled from your civilian populace to become soldiers, well, that obviously slows down your growth of your settlements, and that's going to make it very hard for some of these factions, especially like basically any place that has a small town, just like a tier 1 town. Is Salamis my only tier 1? I think, yeah, Salamis is my only tier 1, and even they have 1,600 population. They're only 400 away from being a large town, which is fine. And everyone else is large town also, yes, but it's my capital. And then minor city. This is a gosh darn tier 3 right there. It's pretty good. And then yeah, even Thebes is a large town, even though it doesn't have walls. But yeah, I mean that's incredible. That's immense. Yeah, having those settlements be you know, all large towns in one city, one small minor city. That's crazy, because some factions, again, looking at you, silly, I feel so sorry for the Seleucids. Like, they don't have too much. This is just a tier 1 town. I think Antioch is a tier 2 large town, and then they have a few more towns. It's just they don't got much. They don't have much. It's really rough. And so I think that going back to the unit sizes, I think it really can make it difficult for these factions to grow their settlements, because again, for those of you who are new to this, you do need to reach a certain cap. So to reach tier 4, I need to have 12,000 people in the settlement. I have 6,000 and my population growth is 7%. That's very fast, you know, so that's, you know, Memphis is they're gonna get there. Alexandria, you know, they're gonna get to the minor city. 9% growth, 3,500, yeah. Thebes, what about you? 4,500, yeah. It's really good all around. But I think that these factions, the thing is that the tier 1 settlement, it's just so it's so bare bones. You get so little out of this. The fact that Salamis has mines is fantastic, because that, you know, that's the most that you can hope for. Is just having mines, having freaking gold, you know? But you can't get a port until you get to tier 2. I believe that's true, right? Let me double check this. So you can't get, and I love this building browser. This is, Medieval should have this, and Shogun should have this. This is the fact that they didn't have building browsers back then. What? It's so crazy. It's so wild. Anyway, yeah, a port is only going to be available at a large town, which is, that's a reach in the early game. You know, when you really want that first port, you're like, you know, you're starving. You know, you're like crawling into that oasis, like, oh, give me that gold, you know, give me that trade. I need it bad. And I think some of these factions can really struggle with that, especially when their base tier 1 unit is a large unit size. And we can't really show that here. Well, we can kind of show it. So like the largest unit size is going to be like the peasants. On this unit scale, the large unit scale, it's only 120 men. Now on the huge unit scale, this is going to be a 240 man unit. Now you might think, well, that's just peasants, right? Wrong. Warbands, which is the tier 1 infantry unit that's available to the barbarian factions, also come at this scale. So 120 men in this unit scale, but then 240 men in the huge unit scale. There's more. Also, the pikemen, which is the tier 1 for some units or some factions. I know Seleucids have a tier 2 pikemen, And I think the Macedonians have a tier 1 pikeman. I can't remember, but pikemen also come in groups of that large size, 120 in this scale, 240 in the huge unit scale. And that's a blow, especially the warband, just because those barbarian factions, those poor barbarian factions, their buildings suck. They don't get really any good economy buildings. They can't make money off of their roads because they only have tier 1 roads. And then they're training these 240-man warband units that just drain their population, and they can never get to a large town, which is where they get all the other options. At tier 1, you can only train your basic tier 1 unit, and that's it. You just get one unit that you can train at tier 1. You don't get availability to any of your other units, like your ranged units, your I skipped it. Your cavalry units, your tier 2 infantry units, until you get to, you guessed it, a large town. So getting stuck at that tier 1 level is just so bad. And you might be wondering, why do I feel bad for the AI? Because I want to have a fun game. I want something of a challenge. Now, here's the kicker. I played all of my practice campaigns so far on this game on huge unit scale. So everything that I'm saying about large unit scale, I don't know if it helps or not. I'm just guessing. This is going to be me figuring it out. I'm just hoping that it's true. I'm hoping that it does make a difference. And I would like to hear your thoughts on this. I would like to hear what you prefer to play on. I know, because I did play most of, all of my practice on the huge unit scale, it does look better. It really, especially on the open field, the field battles, it looks really good to have that huge unit scale. However, the siege battles, they do suck. Now, I was willing to suffer through it and just kind of deal with it, just for the fun of it. But it wasn't until, playing 150 hours in practice of this game before I realized, like, wait a minute. Then I remembered. I don't know why I forgot, but I remembered why I was using the default unit scale settings on Shogun 1 and Medieval 1 to essentially help out the AI, right? Yeah, so again, let me know. You're not going to change my mind on what I'm doing for this campaign, but you might change my mind for what I do for later campaigns, okay? So let me know what your experiences are with this. Do you feel like, if you've ever played large unit scales, that other factions have an easier time of hanging in there? Because in my experience in playing this game, it seems like when you get to the late mid-game, the map kind of dies out because just factions, there's not many left. So, I don't know if I can avoid that, but if I can, that would be pretty cool. All right, let's start moving stuff around. My faction leader is going to be up here. This is... Do we not know his name? Hekhemut. Hekhemut. So 3-star general, 3 management, so nothing super duper crazy. The 5 influence is pretty decent, and for those of you who don't know, command adds morale to units in battles. I'm pretty sure it's just morale. I think that there was a little bit of discussion going on about this. The devs came out and said that it just adds morale. In Shogun and Medieval, it adds command and defense, but no morale. So I think they kind of changed it around for this game. But yeah, I think command just adds morale, and then management's going to be how much money that he's helping a province make. I will say the management one's kind of weird, because if we look in here in settlement details, that's what this means, right? So his 3 things of management is going to be giving Alexandria an additional 114, what is it? Is it denarii? Denarii in this one? Yeah. So that doesn't seem that significant. I think, especially, so like with Alexandria, Alexandria's pretty rich. But, yeah, I don't know. I'll keep an eye on that one, because I've seen some where it's like 3 pips of, like these little scrolls, and the settlement still makes nothing off of this. Like, it's a really low amount. I feel like 114 is like actually a decent amount, but I will keep an eye on that. Influence has an effect on both the battlefield and the strategy map. So this is going to be sort of like Dread in Medieval 1, which is going to simply just have an effect on the public order or the population loyalty of a province. And then on the battlefield, it's going to have an effect on the range of his, what am I trying to say? His aura, his command aura. So that's going to be affected by how much influence he has. So a lot of influence is command aura. So his special ability to rally troops is going to be bigger. And I think, I'm assuming that's what that means. But I'm also assuming that means that more people will be getting morale off of his command. Yeah, that one's a little bit... So here's the way that it works in Shogun 1 and Medieval 1. And see, this is where it gets a little bit weird, how in some ways we have more documentation on how these inner mechanics work in Medieval than on Rome, which is very bizarre, considering how, you know, big and popular this game is. But in Shogun and Medieval, the way this works is that every 2 stars will add 1 valor or honor to a unit, and that valor or honor is going to become with a attack and defense stat or buff, but it's not going to buff the morale. So you might be wondering, what does the odd star do? What does it matter if you have 3 stars? Well, for each of the 3 stars, that's going to be influencing, that's going to be adding an additional point of honor or valor within a small radius around that general, around that commander. And I'm assuming that that's what that would mean in this game, is that radius that is affecting them for, you know, each star. They're getting, you know, morale from each of these 3 stars within a radius of this guy. I think that that's what the influence is going to affect. But then every unit on the battlefield, because of the 2, you know, the even numbered star, you know, 2 stars, they're still getting a morale bonus. That's mostly a guess. So let me know what you know about this. Yeah, like if you have any documentation that you're aware of, any links that you want to send my way, I'm happy to read them. If you just have like anecdotal experience as well, I will probably trust you because you probably have a lot more experience playing this game than I do. But I'm very interested in how these things work. Anyway, so that's that dude. He's hanging out there. He has 2 Egyptian chariot archers. Also, the Egyptian generals are on chariots as well, which is so cool.
My liege.
How do we look at this guy? I always forget. Do I need to take him out of the settlement? I think I do.
Sire.
Because for him, I can look at his unit. Yeah, so the Egyptian chariot general, and they are essentially an archer chariot as well. 13 melee attack, 10 missile attack, which is that's a higher. So these are archers, right? And 10 is higher than like an archer that's on foot, which is interesting. I think that because of the decreased unit model, they're trying to like add effectiveness essentially to their missile attack by giving them a higher damage, which is kind of cool. Total defense of 2. Overall, the Egyptian chariots are going to be weaker than the scythe chariots that are available to the Seleucids and Pontus. That's one of the reasons why I want to stomp on the Seleucids, is to kind of get rid of that threat to the scythe chariots. But the counterplay to that is that scythe chariots can run amok essentially, and they can lose control of their units if you essentially drop their morale by using fire or other fear debuffs, I believe, and they can essentially run through their own soldiers and units. Now, the Egyptian chariots don't do that. It's kind of silly, because why? But it's just for balancing reasons. The scythe chariots that are available to the Seleucids and Pontus are stronger. They have like more hit points, I believe, and they have a better attack. But the Egyptian chariots are still totally fine, and they have access to the Egyptian chariot archers, which are only available, I think, to Pontus. I think might be the only other faction that has chariot archers. Actually, I'm not sure about that. But chariot archers, that's a cool one as well. Now, these Nubian spearmen, this is going to be a phalanx unit. Again, for those of you who are new to this game, phalanx spear units are different from non-phalanx spear units. There's going to be units in this game that are spearmen, but they can't form a phalanx. Now, a phalanx is going to be a unit that, it's a type of formation that the unit's going to move slowly, but they're going to have their spears all kind of, you know, pointing and kind of like a hedgehog formation kind of deal. And it's going to be very difficult to fight that unit from the front. You can get into the flanks and the rear and really mess them up. But, you know, it's going to be a solid frontal defense unit. Pretty much all Phalanx units are. Even these tier 1 crappy Nubian spears, the fact that they're Phalanx infantry is kind of solid. Sure, they have poor morale, and that does make a difference. You know, I have been screwed up by that before, thinking, you know, hey, it's a Phalanx. They're fine, right? Oh, it's a Phalanx. And there's still poor morale, so you have to support these guys. You can't just, you know, let them go Mission Impossible and just be on their own. No. They have to be with their homies, you know. They have to, like, make sure that they're happy and really feel like they have your support going into combat. But yeah, bonus fighting versus cavalry. I believe that's going to be a +8 bonus to their attack, which is very good. There are spear units that don't get this phalanx. However, there's other units that do get this phalanx. That's going to be pike units. Now, all pike units get the phalanx thing, but pikes are different for a couple reasons. For one, the pike is longer than the spear, so it can fight in more ranks. But there's a couple nuances to this. The unit of pikes come in the large unit size. So on this unit scale, we're going to be finding 120-man pike units, as opposed to the 80-man spear phalanx units, or spear, whatever units. Spears are always going to be on 80 men for this unit scale, and then pikes for 120. So to sort of balance that out, and this is kind of weird to me, but to balance this out, pikes were given lower stats. Now, don't be too worried about that. You know, decent and elite pikes are still going to be pretty solid units, but when you compare the stats of an elite pikeman to an elite spear phalanx, so like the Egyptians get access to the Pharaoh's Guard, which is a phalanx spear unit, which is our top tier infantry unit. The Pharaoh's Guard is going to have better stats than like an elite pikeman, but there's going to be 40 men less. So the pikes still win pretty much every time head on. They also do have the longer pikes as well. So Nubian spears, though, for us, it's a very, very good unit. It's pretty much comparable to the militia hoplites, which are available to the Seleucids. They're very similar. So what we have 5 and 8 for attack and defense. 5 and 8 with a shield of 5. And then 5 and 8. So it's the same. Is it the exact same? I'm sure there's differences. Let's look at that again. 5, 2, and then light. 5, 2, and then light. This is 8035. 8035, 1. No, they're exactly the same, aren't they? Oh, they have different... Okay, it's over here. So they're going to have different abilities. Right. So, can form phalanx, bonus versus cavalry, poor morale, can sap. The difference, though, what makes the Nubians better, is that they're going to have this combat bonus in the desert. Now, this is one of those things that you have to go into the game files to look up, but I'm pretty... I think... Yeah, I think that that's +3 to their attack in the desert. I think so. And look around you. There's a bit of desert around us. So yeah, the Nubians can be pretty effective in the desert. I think most, if not all, of our units have that bonus in the desert stat, which is kind of neat. Like the Egyptian chariot archers, do we have the same thing? Yep, combat bonus in the desert. Fright and nearby infantry, yeah, that's a cool one as well. So the infantry gets a morale debuff from chariots. Good morale, fast moving, yep, all fun stuff. We get archers, yeah, Egypt gets archers, and not like just 1 or 2. We have a lot of archers in the beginning of the campaign. The reason why this is cool is because archers require a tier 3 settlement. Now, Egypt happens to have one of those, but most factions do not. So most factions cannot train archers in the beginning of a campaign. Like, they're really suffering. They're like, oh, just give us some archers, please. Why is that important? Well, archers offer a really nice, decently ranged indirect fire unit. So, like, Egypt has access to 3 ranged units in the early game. Slingers, javelins, and archers. Javelins can have some indirect fire, but the range is very short. Slingers have a range that's in between archers and javelins, but they shoot on a straight line. And then the archers are kind of like the best of both worlds, where they have a bit longer range than the slingers, and they can also have that indirect fire, which the slingers do not possess. The difference, though, is that, as I said, you need a tier 3 to train archers, and you can train slingers and javelins both from tier 1, I believe. Let me just check this. Range. Yeah, you can get skirmishers and slingers from a tier 1 practice range, which is available at a large town. So it's one of those things where Egypt has some good options here with range units. The fact that we have 2 archers there and then 1 archer there, so that's 3, 4 archers, 5 archers, hot damn, 6, 7 archers, Jesus, that's 7 archers is no joke, god damn. Yeah, that's good, and you can just start pumping out more skirmishers and slingers right away. And I've had success with skirmishers and slingers as well. I don't mind those units. Yeah, I don't mind them at all. I will use them for sure. I think they have their uses. Let's see, what else have we got? Anything else to talk about here in regards to our units? So faction leader is going to be here in Alexandria. And then what do we got here? We have new damn Nomhotep. That's the best I got. Nomhotep. 3 command, a bunch of influence. That's 7 influence. He's the faction heir. Okay. Strategic expert, so +2 command, command talent, and honor the gods. Yep. Magician, +2 influence. Good stuff. And then you, master of archers. So +1 command from that. And then influence and +1 law. Law is good. That's going to decrease the corruption of a settlement that he is the governor of. Oh, and by the way, so like a governor is just like the guy that's in the settlement. It's not like medieval where you have to assign a title to a character to make him the governor. And that's, I want to say, one of the things that was lost. I'm not going to raise a big fuss about this because this may not have just been like a budget constraint. I think maybe they just wanted it to be easier and less of a fuss, maybe. But I thought that in medieval that was a fuss worth fussing about because, don't get me wrong, it can be nice just to simply casually move a guy from settlement to settlement. You can use governors or characters that have these nice traits that decrease construction costs, and you can simply move them in between settlements in the same turn, decreasing the construction costs of multiple buildings in the same turn. It's nice, you know. You can kind of just casually do stuff like that. It feels a little bit cheesy, but who cares? Like, you can have fun with it if you want. But I think, and maybe this is just my like recent recency bias, just because I've been playing a lot of medieval Total War recently. I am tempted to like prefer that system of the titles. You give someone a title and they become a governor. That kind of made sense, I think, but what do I know? Anyway, I think what I do know is that I want this Nubian spear and this archer to start moving up north. So you guys can leave, and the settlement is going to be normal taxes, and there's 0 people, or no, we left a peasant there, that's right. So we might bump those taxes up a little bit. Yeah, yellow was at 85% public order. Very high, so 60 is too much. You don't want 60. So 85 it's gonna be. Yeah, and there's no general with this army, so we'll just send them north. They can meet up like here, I think. And then you can actually train some mercenaries. This is one of my favorite things in this game. I love this mechanic. Now, maybe this was more important playing on huge unit scale, but being able to recruit soldiers that do not come from your population that pays taxes is extremely powerful, and it's so fun to use. And I'm pretty sure the AI does recruit mercenaries, so I don't feel bad using this. there's a little bit of debate in medieval whether the AI recruits mercenaries. I feel like it does, but maybe it doesn't. Therefore, when you do it, it can kind of feel like an exploit. But come on, some of these mechanics are just too fun not to use, even if it is, you know, even if the AI doesn't really know what to do with it. Mercenaries are cool. And here we have some Libyan mercenaries. They're just skirmishers. Why am I so excited about skirmishers? I just like mercenaries. They're awesome. So what do we have? Melee attack of 2, missile attack of 5. Is that, and then defensive 3. 2, 5, and 3. So they have less attack, less missile attack, and less defense. So all in all, they are a worse unit than our skirmishers. But you know what? Our skirmishers, you know what? These guys, they're not going to be taken away from our civilian populace. So that's fine. Also, the Peltis or Javelin units, they have a bonus versus elephants and chariots. That's +3 to their missile attack and melee attack when fighting chariots or elephants. Now, that's kind of interesting because you would never want these light infantry to be fighting chariots or elephants in close combat, right? I'm starting to wonder about this. And I kind of want to play around with this more because it's interesting. That's like one of the uses, that's one of the ways that the Romans used their velites in the Second Punic War against, against Hannibal's elephants, was kind of using these light infantry that were not in formation. They can kind of scatter and run around the elephants, and not, they're not like, I'm just, right side by side with my man in a unit. I'm going to get smushed by this elephant. So like they could use these light infantry velites to sort of herd the elephants through the gaps in the formations that the Romans had left open. And I feel like that +6 melee attack might be kind of cool to use. I don't know if we will be facing elephants. Oh yes, we will. Yeah, because Parthia has elephants, and the Seleucids could have elephants if I let them live. And who else? There's Armenia. I don't think Armenia or Pontus gets elephants, but Carthage does. I think it might just be the 3 factions: Carthage, Parthia, and the Seleucids. Anyway, we will definitely be hiring these guys. 350 recruitment costs, 100 upkeep. They're expensive, but it feels like it's worth it just because you're getting guys that aren't going to be detracting from your taxpayers, right?
No more moves, sire.
So yeah, we moved those guys up. Oops, shoot! I should have left this peasant. That was a mistake. Peasant should have stayed behind. Sorry. But these guys also will be moving up as well. So let's go. You can move up. I think I'll just be bringing in this boat. Yep. I'll just be hanging out here. You'll be waiting for everyone to get in line. And then you, and then you guys. Let's not get in the boat yet, just because, yeah, if some scary pirates show up, I don't want to be on those boats just getting sunk. The ships would be safer just hanging out in my harbor. Yeah. But you know what? I have the Lighthouse of Alexandria on my side. I don't have to worry about being sunk, right? Also, this is, okay, the way, like, how vague this is just so funny. Halves the chance of nearby ships at sea sinking. Is that just for the people that own this? Or is that for, like, every ship in the nearby area? Like, it's vague in every way. It's vague on the area of effect. It's vague on the actual effect. It's just like, oh dear. The way that they worded these worded these things in these early games is just kind of funny. They're like, if they won't, the people, the players, the gamers, they won't care, right? They won't, we don't need to be precise, right? Gamers won't care. And it's like, yeah, that's all we care about is preciseness. Like, that's like the most important thing in the world to us, is specifying what you mean with your words. Oh dear. Let's see, I think I want to get my diplomat to come and talk to the Numidians. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. You can go down and talk to them. And let's see, so we're gonna be hanging out. I can't. So there's no more mercenaries I can train here. You're gonna be moving up, and yeah, we'll just wait for all of these guys to get up, and maybe, yeah, let's train something here because they can move up with this army. So let's train. Can't train much, can I? So nothing in there. Maybe train a unit of... Let's see, I have 650... 650. Maybe train up a unit of Nubian spears.
Mighty General.
Is that what's going to be most important to me, or should I have another unit of, like, archers or javelins? Or not archers, but, skirmishers or slingers, maybe? I'll think about it. I will think about it. I don't have much money left, but I do want to train whatever I can in the time that I have. I am tempted... I am tempted to train another diplomat up here in Sidon, just so that I can start talking to these folks. I have a feeling that this diplomat's going to kind of have his hands busy. He might go talk to the Numidians, and then he might just go on a long journey through the desert. Maybe. That might be what I do with him. And that kind of leaves this whole area over here that needs talking to. Yeah. So that might be what I do up here, is to train a diplomat. There we go, 250 denarii and then 50 upkeep. Yeah, adding upkeep for agents was a really clever thing for Creative Assembly to do. It's like, it's interesting because I love using agents in Shogun and Medieval, and I wouldn't call it agent spam, although a lot of people that watch my channel might call it agent spam. I just think that agents in these earlier games, well, Medieval and Shogun at least, they don't really have much of an effect unless you use a lot of them. Like, you know, if you're causing rebellions and stuff, or assassinating people, or, you know, using Inquisitors or Medieval 1, it kind of works in mass. Like, if you can pump out masses of these guys, they can have effects, and you can actually have cause some issues with them. But they don't really just work individually. You know, like, it takes a lot of them to get the job done. And I think it's worth playing with. I like using agents because I like using different systems and mechanics in these games. I don't look at these games as just like, you know, a way to march armies around and kill stuff. I want to explore. I want to explore this and really see what's available for me to experience with this game. And one of the ways to do that and to deepen this exploration is to use agents. And so yeah, I used a lot of them in Shogun and Medieval. I feel like in Medieval, they sort of curbed the effectiveness of spies by making them a tier 3 unit, so it took a long time to get to them. And then it made it so that their effects were not cumulative. So like in Shogun, it's cumulative for shinobis. You can just dump a bunch of them in a province and they will cause a revolt. In Medieval, it was not cumulative, so only one spy's effect would have an effect on each province. And in this game, they curbed agents, like, more so, because, my goodness, for one thing, they're kind of expensive. Not so much for the diplomat, like, he's, like, okay, but then 350 denarii for a spy. Wow. Like, you know, wow. That's kind of a lot, you know? That's more than any unit that I'm training in this early game. I'm paying 230 for Phalanx Spearmen. I'm paying, what, like 170 for slingers and 150 for... No, 170 for skirmishers, 180 for skirmishers, 150 for slingers. Yes. That's, you know, that's not bad. But 350 for a spy. And then on top of that, these people die. Like, I don't mean from, like, getting caught, but just from old age. They die. All the characters die in this game, which is like, what? In Medieval, it was just like the generals and the family members that would die of old age. But you could just have an agent sitting, like you could train a bunch of like religious agents and they could just hang out all over the map, costing 0 upkeep, and they would never die, so you could have vision on the entire map the entire game. It was great. I loved it. I'm spoiled. I love having vision of the entire map. And then I'm trying to like spam agents in this game, and it's so hard to keep track of because they get old and then they die, and then I have to be like, okay, where was he? You know, like which city, what town, what area was he in? The guy that just died, where was he? I have to fill that gap again. And this whole time, they cost upkeep as well. Like it's probably not worth it to have agents all over the place because of how expensive they are. And that makes me a sad con. Now, I'm going to do my best to fight that, and I'm going to make it my goal to become rich so that I can afford agents. Now, I don't know how sustainable that's going to be for other factions that I play, like when I play the barbarians, the poor barbarians. I don't know if I can really go heavy on agents for those factions, but at least with Egypt and at least with the Julii, I think that I will be able to eventually afford agent spam. And I didn't just call it that. No, I take that back. Not agent spam, just using flipping agents. I want to explore, you know? This is part of seeing the map is part of the fun here. So yeah, anyway, that's you got front row seats to my agent rant right there. There you go. You're welcome for that. Now, there's not a lot of money to spend here, and let's see. Should I take someone out to like look? Can I like get mercenaries? Maybe save those mercenaries. What's available here? Yeah, Eastern mercenaries and Bedouin warriors. I can't even afford them anyway, because they're so expensive. So probably save those guys for when I'm moving and getting closer to Damascus or Antioch. Let's see, so 170 denarii. That would be enough to maybe train a unit of slingers. Yeah, I'm 10 short of being able to train a skirmisher, but getting a unit of slingers isn't the worst idea. Probably just get them up here in Jerusalem. That leaves me with 20 denarii left. Because I'll be attacking from here up anyway. Like, it's going to be all of my armies hands on deck kind of deal. I might even bring on over my 2 Nubian spears and my 1 skirmisher from Salamis as well. Yeah, that might be what I do. Let's make sure my taxes are as high as possible. Raising taxes does decrease population growth, but my population growth is just so insane right now anyway that it doesn't really matter. And yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. You want the blue face. Blue means good. Green means bad. You don't want green. Green means you're losing money. So never have a green face if you can help it. But very high taxes. Yep. Public order 100%. You don't need it to be 100% or higher. You're not going to have issues until you reach 70%. That's when you're going to get a red face, and red face means rioting. And that's when you're going to get civilian population dying in the riots. If you have a garrison there, they're going to take casualties from the riots as well. And maybe buildings get destroyed as well, maybe. And if that happens a few turns in a row, then they could expel whatever garrison you have from that settlement, and then yeah, you won't own that settlement anymore, and you will have to take it back. So that's where it becomes an issue, is at 70%. Anything above 70%, you're golden. You know, that you're good. Yeah, you don't want green faces. You can make an argument that there's times to lower taxes just if you're trying to reach the next level of settlement and you want to get as high of a population growth as possible. But Egypt has insane population growth anyway, I think, especially for I think maybe just Memphis and Alexandria, because they have the grain resource. So grain is a resource, it's a special resource that increases population growth. And is that it? Yeah, I think that's it. I think also it's part of the trade as well. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Let's see if we can check this out. So grain is being traded, yeah. Okay. And as you can see here, yeah, Memphis, it doesn't have a port, so they're just trading, it's making land trade with Alexandria. It's confusing that they combined imports and exports in the same list. But then Siwa is the capital of the Numidians, or not the capital, but that's the Numidian city that's right here, so that's being traded with by Memphis as well. Memphis has that grain, and they also have incense. And then Thebes down here, they have gold. So even without that, they don't even have a mine yet, and they're still trading that gold with its land routes. Yeah, because you're making import money from that as well. And then, yeah, they're not making any trade income. But we do have a port up here in Alexandria, so you can see that they're importing timber from Sidon, which is my other province that has a port. And they have that timber resource right there. And then Alexandria is exporting grain and textiles as well, and making that much money off of it. Now, that grain that's being exported, I believe that's also... So it's not just Memphis that's getting a population boost, and it's not just Alexandria that's getting a population boost because they have grain, but I'm pretty sure that other provinces that are importing that grain, I think they also get a boost. I don't know how much that boost is. I don't know if it's the full amount that these provinces are getting. I just don't know, but I'm pretty sure that is the case. So, like Thebes, if we look at Thebes, yeah, they're importing grain from Memphis. And how's their population growth? 5.5? So like, 6.5 for Memphis, and then Alexandria's at 8. 6.5. Very high taxes. They might be getting a boost, but maybe not as much. Yeah. Maybe. If you know the answers, let me know. But I think I'm on the right track with this. I just don't know the exact, numbers and percentages and all that. And then I think if we can also see that up here in Sidon. So they're importing grain from Alexandria, 6.5. Yeah. So Jerusalem, man, Jerusalem's also getting 6.5. And they don't have any grain, do they? So why is their population... They are getting it. They're getting grain from somewhere. From Alexandria. Oh, so they're getting land trade. It connects, do these provinces connect? Okay. Yeah, you see what I know and don't know about this. Yeah, there's land trade. Okay, I get it. Yeah, I get it. So yeah, it seems like everyone's getting the goods. And yeah, it shows it there. So you see the grain is giving a 3% boost. So is that different from provinces that actually have the grain themselves? They're getting a 3%. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same amount. Whether you have it domestically or whether you're importing it from somewhere else, you're getting that 3% grain boost for population growth. Interesting. Okay. That's very interesting, actually. Good stuff. But Salamis is not going to get it, right? They're sitting at 4%. And yeah, they just have base farming, right? Okie dokie. Now that I have the correct tax levels set for all of my settlements and I have my build orders set, my training orders set as well, I think I'm finally ready to end my first turn here. So I almost was wondering if I was going to make it. First turn in the first episode? How about that? So let's drop a save. This game isn't too stable, unfortunately, so I do drop a lot of saves. An absolute ton of saves. Yeah, so we did lose 922 or 929 florins or denarii in that turn, but we will be making a lot more once those mines are finished at the end of this turn, so that's wonderful. That's kind of the only number that I typically look at in this sheet. For those of you who are new to this game and you want to look at this and try to understand what I'm seeing, this is pretty much all that I really see here. If I want to kind of dig into this and see where stuff is coming from or where stuff is going, I can find it here, but that's really all I really care about on a day-to-day basis. And yeah, this is kind of funny for this little notification screen, how it makes sense to have like the Roman Julii red shields if you're playing as the Julii, and then you have like the Julii guys down here as well. But where's Egypt, gosh darn it? Why can't we get some Egyptian soldiers down here in the recruitment button or the notifications recruitment tab as well? Ah, well. So we got a diplomat, trained up our slingers in Jerusalem and our Nubian spears in Memphis. That's it for our notifications, and we will be moving our guys on up to meet with our ships so that they can be shipped on over to the Levant, maybe? And, ooh, what do we have here? Our first bandits, yeah. Yeah, so we have a unit of archers. This is going to be bandits. They're kind of like rebels, but they just hang out and don't do much. I have seen bandits actually attack settlements, which is just so mind-boggling. I'm like, what? Like, what are you guys doing? Surprisingly, for me, bandits are something that I thought before I played this game, just by like watching other people play this game, I thought bandits were kind of like a write-off. Like, just swath them aside. And for armies like this, with only one archer, yeah, sure, you just swath them aside. just move up a couple units and kill them. But some bandit forces are actually quite formidable, considering that they usually pop up, well they pop up typically inside of your provinces, right? A lot of times you don't have a frontal, an actual engagement force, you know, what am I trying to say? Like an actual fighting army meant for holding territory or taking territory. A lot of times you're fighting bandits with whatever you can just scrounge up within your back territories. And to that end, bandits can be a bit annoying because, again, this can be beaten by pretty much anything, but sometimes you have like a 6-stack bandit army with like a general in it, and you're like, Jesus, I need to rally the troops together. Like, this is not nothing. And they can't be ignored either, because this guy, if he's left to his own devices for too long, is going to cause some devastation, this little patch of ground around him, which is going to take away money from my farm income. And it's not a little amount of money. It's a decent amount. You can lose hundreds of denarii per turn from bandits kind of hanging out. In addition to that, this guy, and I don't know if this is counting him being on my roads here. I'm not sure. Actually, I can check this. Maybe I can. But bandits can also interrupt your trade as well. Is this telling me that here? So there's no devastation yet. It would say that here, and you'd be able to see the devastation on the map. I feel like if he was interrupting our trade, this would be flashing and we would be losing trade. I feel like. So maybe this is not being counted as him being on our road. Maybe. I'm just guessing here. Our trade should be fine. Jerusalem is trading with Damascus. So that's still... We're still trading with Damascus. Okay, well... I guess that's fine. But if he just takes one more step, he's going to be interrupting our trade, gosh darn it. And yeah, you don't want that. You want to kill these guys. Now, I have to say, I think that's one of the issues that I had with why I was having a hard time grinding out all of my practice hours. I had a goal set to get 300 hours in of practice, and I only hit 150 hours, and I pretty much did not pick up this game for the last month. It's not that I got bored of the game, I don't know, the bandits, you just can't ignore them, and you have to fight them all the time, and for practice campaigns, I like to kind of just push through, and experience the game and learn the lessons and try to get as much of a kind of an overall experience for as many different factions and whatever as I can fit into all of the hours that I play for practice before I start uploading, for this channel. But it's hard to cram practice hours when you're just and I have to fight another bandit thing. I'm not complaining about this within the game itself. It's just, as a YouTuber, I was like, man, I can't keep doing this. I have to take a break from these guys. And I don't, again, I just want to reiterate, I don't mind that they exist. I kind of like that Creative Assembly made them to be a factor. You know, if something exists in these games, I want them to matter. And bandits, I would say, they do matter. And I like that. And part of me does kind of like the fact that I need a kind of a back force, kind of wandering around. I can use my bad characters, the ones that aren't very useful, to hunt down bandits. There's some I like elements of this. It's fine. It's fine. So we will have an opportunity to kill our first unit of bandits. I don't know if it's going to be with. Oh yeah. These guys are going to be plenty good enough. Yeah, we have plenty here. 2 archers, 2 Nubian spears, 1 slinger, and 1 general as well. So we can just take out a couple of units, and they can go kill that bandit unit before he even causes any devastation upon our lands. And then we will await the coming of all of our troops from the Nile Delta area, I suppose. And then we will wage war against the Seleucids. But you know what? That is all going to have to wait until next time. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and thank you very much for watching. This has been Conestep playing Rome Total War. Thank you very much, and goodbye.